Section 11A is about writing mathematical expressions. We're going to start by doing some definitions. The first definition is a variable. A variable is a symbol used to represent a number or a value. If you remember back to grade school, you may have done a problem like this, where the box represented an unknown value that when you add it to 2 equals 5. Well, we all know the answer is 3 there. That's the idea behind a variable. Except now instead of a box we use a letter to represent that unknown. So we would say x plus 2 equals 5, thereby saying that x is equal to 3 because when you add it to 2 you get a 5. You can use any letter you'd like to represent a variable. X is probably the most popular. The second definition, an algebraic expression, is an expression with one or more numbers and variables along with one or more arithmetic operators. So all I need is numbers, variables, and then arithmetic operators. So let's make a couple. 3 minus 2 is an expression. 4x is an expression. 2/5 is an expression. These all use numbers and letters and arithmetic operators. The next definition is a factor. It's a quantity being multiplied. 2 times 3 are factors. 4 times 3, those are factors, those are being multiplied. And then 5 times 6 are factors. Now notice, instead of using a typical x value, like you used to use for multiplication, 3 times 5, that's what you did in grade school. Except now, this little x might be confused with a variable x. So we're going to use parentheses to represent multiplication and dots. Feel free to use parentheses or dots to represent multiplication. You can even use double parentheses. But all of these numbers in this case are factors, and you can also have a number and a variable being multiplied together. In that case, we don't write anything between them. We don't write a parentheses. We just write 8y. Now the product is the result of things being multiplied. So if you multiply 2 times 3, you get 6. 6 is considered a product because 2 and 3 are its factors, and then 6 is the result or the product. So 4 times 3 would be 12. That would be a product. The product of 5 times 6 will be 30. The product here is 15. And in this one, the product is just 8y. Here we're being asked to write an algebraic expression for each verbal expression. So here it says 8 more than a number n. This idea of 8 more in algebra means we're going to add 8 to something because we're going to have 8 more than some original value. Well, the original value you find is right here, a number n. And all we have to do is put an n there. And that's how you would write 8 more than a number n. In B, it says 7 less than. Well, this, just like more than is adding, less than is subtracting. So we're going to take 7 off of something that we're going to start with. A lot of people get confused. They see 7 less than and they put 7 minus, when really it's 7 that comes off of something else. Well, what does it come off of? It comes off the product of 4 and a number. And we learned what product means. Product means multiplication. So if I'm going to multiply 4x, I could write it as just a 4x minus 7. Now if you wanted, you could do 4 dot x minus 7, but typically we write it as 4x minus 7. That's a more concise way to write it. C is 1/3. 1/3 is pretty easy. It just is a fraction 1/3. This word of means multiply, and we'll put a dot there to reference the multiplication, and then say the size of the original area A. Now putting all that together, you can rewrite it as 1/3 A, or this is really an A over 1, so you could multiply it by 1/3 and get A over 3. Here we're going to have a brief discussion about powers. A power is a word that we use to describe an expression like this one. That's a power, and the reason it's a power is because it's made up of a large number down here on the bottom and a small number in the upper right hand corner. Now those values have names. The number that's on the bottom, or in this case the letter, is called the base, and the number up on the top is called the exponent. Now what does that mean? If you have a power like 3, with a little 2 up above. What that means is you're going to take this base and you're going to multiply by itself 2 times. So the base is the number that you're multiplying, and the exponent is how many times you're going to multiply that base. So in this case, 3 to the second power would equal 9. Another example, 4 to the third power is 4 times 4 times 4. The base times itself 3 times, which equals 64. Down here you'll see a table that kind of talks about that as well. Something to the first power just means that value. And I also want you to understand that if you write something like x where it does not have a power with it at all, that's assumed to be an x to the first. Or if you write a 5, it's assumed to mean 5 to the first power. If you use a 2, we call that 3 to the second power, or we say that that's squared. And then if there's a little 3 up above, that's 3 to the third power, or cubed. Squared and cubed are special names. The rest of them are just called by 4th, 5th, 6th, and so on for the power. Here we're being asked to write each expression algebraically, which means using numbers and symbols and variables. The first one is the product of 7 and m to the 5th power. Well, we know that the word product means multiply. And what are we going to multiply? We're going to multiply 7 and m to the 5th power. And the other way that you can write that is 7 times m to the 5th. And that's the best way to write that algebraically. Notice the word product shows us where we're going to put the multiplication symbol when we find the word and. So the word and product have a relationship there, and I'll talk about that in a minute. If we go to letter B, the difference, the word difference means subtraction, so we're going to do difference of 4 and x squared. And again, this word difference points forward to the word and is where we're going to write the subtraction sign in this case. Now down here you'll see a set of 4 words, and these 4 words make up the 4 most often used words when talking about addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And those words are sum, difference, product, and quotient. Now they're important because those words, when you see them written out, you need to then look for the word and, because the word and is where you're going to put the symbol that goes with each of those words. And both of these examples showed that. Product meant I'm looking for the and, so I could put the multiplication symbol in. And difference meant I was looking for the word and, so I could put the subtraction sign in. You should know these 4 words and what they mean. Another vocabulary word here is evaluate, which means to find a value. That just means take an expression and calculate what the value actually is. So here we have 2 with a little 6. That's an exponent, and that's read 2 to the 6th power. And if you remember from before, that means 2 times itself 6 times. And 2 to the 6th power, then if you multiply all that out, is 64. So that's an example of evaluating this expression. Over here, 4 to the 3rd power, or the special word for that is 4 cubed, is 4 times 4 times 4, which is also 64.